Welcome to Entrepreneurial Reality with Bash. Every week we'll be speaking to startup and scale-up founders to learn about them, their ambitions for the business, goals and objectives. Every conversation is a moment in time, documenting entrepreneurs' current situation with a view to coming back next year to see how they are getting on. Each journey will be different. Each innovation could be game-changing. I hope you enjoy. Hey, this is Bash. It's the first of many conversations with founders of startup and scale-up organizations. Today I have with me here Adam Benzecrit of Inflo.AI. If you could introduce yourself.
Hi listeners, so my name is exactly that, Adam Benzecrit, here, the founder of Inflo.AI, which is an AI content platform for brands and publishers. What we're trying to do is make it very simple and extremely efficient for these companies to find and publish content online.
Thank you, Adam. So yes, first of a series of interviews where we are going to understand where you are today, a moment in time, about the development of the product, about the accessing of funding with a view to growing and scaling and really changing the lives of many organizations with a particular problem. If we work back and look about your background, how did you get to here in the first place?
Great question. So the business started off very different to what it is now. It started off, I'm a massive sports fan. So back in 2015, I launched a product called SportsFix, which was the first ever sports news aggregation app. And I launched that alongside my co-founder, Toby, whose background is in law. Two of us massive fans, and we wanted to create a way for sports fans to follow their favorite teams, athletes very, very easily. It seemed crazy at the time. And as I say, it started off as a project at the time that to get content, to consume content, readers would have to go to so many different places to find that. BBC, Sky Sports, ESPN, Sporting News. Why not aggregate that in an app? So it all started off in 2015 with the launch of that product, and how it went, really the next step of that and how it's changed to what it is now, was the big moment for us was we went on an accelerator. And I'd encourage any new business, any new founder starting out to really go on those with a really open mind and meet a lot of people. But for us, it was about meeting brands. It was about meeting publishers. It was about meeting governing bodies, bookmakers at the time. And back then, we were pitching to these companies with SportsFix, with our sports news app, with the plan of and with the aim to get these companies advertise on our product, a very simple B2C product. For these companies, they would get access to a lot of targeted users, sports readers, which was great, and they were interested. But that was an app, and it's changed a lot now it's changed tremendously, and it's now a B2B tool. I guess what came out of that sort of whole journey of having this product out was that we found a much bigger problem. Speaking to these brands, speaking to these governing bodies, they found that content was a really big problem. And that sort of was the big thing for us. How do we help these companies find content and create content at scale? So that was the big sort of moment, but that's the journey so far.
Interesting, thank you. So you're currently looking for funding. I understand that you're on the syndicate room, syndicateroom.com.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you are very nearly to your target funding round. Can you just tell me a bit about that and the people that are behind you already, the major influencers in the market that have credibility, experience, and knowledge of this sector that people should be knowing and should engage with?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've now done 4 rounds of funding, and this is our 4th round of funding. We've raised £1 million to date, all from private investors throughout the journey. So as I was saying, back with SportsFix, our first investors were some guys and some directors from Sunseeker, actually, where I used to work. But sort of 2 years on, 3 years on, we've now got a really good collection of 20 private investors, and I'll talk you through the different people involved, and all of them add value, but all of them add value in very different ways. So I always think of it in sort of two different sort of types of people. One of which is successful entrepreneurs and founders. So we've got the founder of Meantime Brewery.
Love the beer.
It's a great brand. Can't beat their pale ale. It's very, very good. The guy's done very well. He's one of our initial backers, but his background is he's CFO or COO of Meantime, so he's extremely good at the numbers and always helps out with the financial forecasts and the spreadsheets, the assumptions that underpin this, which is so important when people do look at your financials. Another key founder in our business is the founder of Sunseeker Motor Yachts. Sold his business for I think 900 million. Wow. He's all about the brand. Again, very different. People buy dream. People want to use their boats because it's given them such a dream experience, and how he talks about that is always very useful for us in that selling, and really presenting and really focusing on the why of the product and the benefits you get. Is fantastic to hear it from him always. Then the other side of the investment base is professionals. Not to say the other guys aren't professional; they're extremely professional people. We've got the ex-global COO of Goldman Sachs in equity research. Brilliant. He's invested in a few different companies. He also is the venture partner at Hambro Perks. He's one of London's leading media funds as well. He's advised on the IPOs of Snapchat, Facebook, and some great experience. And from him, we've also got various bankers, lawyers involved, the GC of Monster Energy. But really important for Inflo.AI is, given what we're doing with trying to creating this platform to allow brands and publishers, what's really important is media expertise. So coming to the media professionals who invested, we've got the former head of new business at Trinity Mirror Group, whose background was also in DoubleClick. We've got various media moguls. We've got a guy who sold a business to Publicis Group. So lots of media expertise. The ex-CEO of Havas Media Group, who's now just taken up a new role at Tinklams, a big travel tech company based in Hong Kong, I think. So a real breadth of people. And coming back to your initial comment, we are now live on Syndicate Room. So we're looking to raise a minimum of 600,000, and we have, as you say, we're very near. We're at 500,000 committed, and we've got a week to go. Syndicate Room are, for the listeners who don't know, are an equity crowdfunding platform. There's a process to get on the platform, but once you're on it, their fund matches what you procure. So it's a good one if you want to sort of top up a round, I'd say. But it's different. The 4 rounds have all been angel rounds today. And in terms of the next steps, we should always be talking about next steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be, we're eyeing up a more institutional raise next year. And this investment is really important for us because it provides the platform foundation with a much more stable MRRs to take us to that sort of new chapter of the business, which I'm most excited about. And, there's lots of product and commercial milestones we've got to hit in the next 6, 8, 10 months that really unlock that new chapter. So extremely exciting time for the business.
Great. So with great backing, there comes with it a great network to access organizations that will really see true value in your platform. With regards to the customers that you have already, you've got a keen interest, as you say, in sports. Tell me a bit about some of the customers that you have and some of the applications of your platform, Inflo.AI, in those customers.
Yeah, so Inflo.AI. So the main thing to focus on first is that we've built a very valuable system that extracts and categorizes content automatically. And this back-end system, which we spent 3 years building, and all the investments gone on, really powers our 2 products. And the first product to mention who uses it is called Inflo.AI Feed. And this is what this is. It's an automated plugin of third-party content. So relevant content from across the web plugged into your various products. So for example, for this service, the typical customer is a native app. It could be a marketing automation platform that needs more content. It could be for research purposes. So that first service is really just an API and it's a plugin. To give you an example, we work with some really interesting native apps, some up-and-coming apps. For example, Jaffa. They're a football app. They need lots of content, certainly World Cup content.
Yes.
What we're talking
Go
about.
England, come
Go
on.
England, it's coming home. And it's definitely coming home for Jaffa when they get all their relevant football content plugged in, and that's it. That's how the product works. It just lets it run. It runs by itself. There's no upkeep for the customer. And why this is valuable, why Inflo.AI is valuable, is the alternative is what? The alternative I know about, because back in the sports fix days, we were finding it very difficult to find relevant information, relevant content in our product. And Inflo.AI gives that ability now to plug in information rather than having to create and do the legwork of creating a software engineering team, which it's never easy. Talent's not easy to find, but we help business in that respect. So that's our first product. The second product, again, powered by the same back-end technology and machine learning that powers that, which is the extraction of content, ensuring relevancy, and as I say, the categorization of content, ensuring, again, relevancy and organizing the relevant categories come through, powers in our second product, which is Inflo.AI Edit. So Inflo.AI Edit is essentially a workflow tool. It's a workflow tool for digital teams. And the point of the product is to give them an easy one-stop shop to create original content at scale. Original content that resonates. And what we're able to do is pull in all different types of content, whether it's video, imagery, text, from anywhere across the web, relevant for you as a customer, give them the tools to edit and collaborate in the workflow tool, and then publish. And where we can publish, the list is growing. We work with loads of different CMSs now and different digital channels, such as social media. But no, let's take an example. How does this work? So one of our customers is a really interesting brand, Extreme International. So Extreme
Cool brand.
Yeah, do you know them?
Do really well.
Yeah, so they used to be on TV, and people probably know the EX brand from there. But a really good example, because a multinational lifestyle brand, they've got 50 million content views across their platform. They desperately need to publish really cool content every single day to keep those viewers and engagers inspired and keep their brand active. And so what our system is able to do is recommend trending content from across the web. A really cool action sport video, BMX nutter doing a backflip, and obviously lands it, unlike me probably. A skateboarding video, a surfing video, all this stuff we recommend to Extreme, and they have the tools there to make changes, to make tweaks, make it original and on brand, and then publish it out. And they publish it to their website. And really important for them, and typical as is the case with a lot of big brands, is they're not really monetizing their massive social media following. So in the case of Extreme, they've got a growing social media following. That's obviously that's the key for them, is growing. But they have 4 million Facebook followers. And what's really important, what's happening now, is Facebook aren't allowing them to monetize that content effectively. But the idea is through pushing relevant content to their website, through Inflo.AI and capturing a really interesting area, they're able to drive engagement to their site. And crucially, they can monetize their following, because through Inflo.AI, we partnered up with an advertising network. So when you publish through our system, you also publish relevant advertising on top of that content.
So in addition to a monthly recurring revenue or licensing scheme, you are potentially generating revenue through advertisements as well.
Correct.
Through the brands publishing their content. Wow, okay. And that can scale significantly, especially when you consider 4 million viewers plus for Extreme. So yeah, that you could scale very quickly.
That's the idea. I mean, two sort of revenue streams for the business. One is the typical SaaS subscription model, monthly subscription, £500 a month, and that scales for us depending on the number of websites you crawl from, which is great, and it's doing well. Both products have that option of no ads and a subscription fee. But on top of that, there is this more sort of higher growth model, which is really exciting for us, which can grow a lot quicker. It doesn't mean we have to sign up loads and loads of clients. It means What we do need to do is drive really interesting content and bolt on relevant advertising on top of it, and then split the advertising revenues between Inflo.AI, of course, the client who gets a really exciting revenue stream for using our products, an incentive to use our product, but also this wouldn't be possible without the content creators. We want to be that sort of the good guys in town, certainly, but the marketplace for media buyers. We're taking content from content creators. They should be rewarded for that too. And so we can give a portion of our advertising revenue back to those creators.
Interesting.
Which is really important.
That is. And ultimately, the consumer of the content drives activities. So the attention you garner through more in contextual content presented. I speak from personal experience around going on a website. There was an interesting article I was really interested in seeing, but there was nothing in context below it that may have drawn my attention and engaged me as a consumer of that content. So yeah, I can see the real true value of that proposition. Okay.
Look, content is king, but content is king is only if the content is good and the content is engaging. And it's all about driving hang time. So all our products, we have a minimum of 30% driving and hang time. So it's so important. Yeah, relevance is everything.
And you give a lot of this sort of analytics of engagement of the content back to the content producers, the brands that are looking to sell through the content.
That's right, and really good data to choose it, because only recently we've started working with a company based in Singapore who focus more on that analytics engine. We're the curation engine, but a company we're working with now called OpenDNA, and the founder there, Jay, is a fantastic guy, and his focus is more on the analytics and telling companies how things are performing. And combining our offering of curation with content performance, it completes the cycle. So really excited to be working with them, and obviously it's a distribution channel for both companies. So
fantastic.
Interesting times. Yeah.
So once you've closed your funding round and successfully, of course, overfunded, maybe. So
which you'll see. Hope so. Yeah.
Where are you specifically putting that money?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing that's got to get out the door quickly, the big focus for us right now is improving. So coming back to the two products, the second product, Inflo.AI Edit, which we've got lots of interest for, and big brands have signed up to use it, such as Premier Inn, Extreme, who I've mentioned, Novus Group, lots of interesting companies. For them right now, they're expecting a big update, which is going to happen in Q3 this year for us. And a lot of the money is going in powering that update. So what that update will really mean is companies will be able to collaborate in the content creation phase. So there'll be a section within the workflow tool where you can save content. You can save content to boards, and you can name the board whatever you want. And then with that board, there's relevant content, and from that board, you can create really interesting information. So that whole section is going to be new. Because right now you can't save information within our product, which is a problem. So that's a really big update. So that's one part of it. The second part is machine learning. Look, that's really where the value is. And I've mentioned the extraction, I've mentioned the categorization, but there's loads of features we want to add. We really want to make the content as personalized as possible. So personalization is a big focus for us. Trending content is a big focus for us. As well, recommending what's interesting and monitoring the sort of social peaks and stats around that is a big focus. And I really want to mention sort of one final area on the updates and what we're focusing on. One of our engineers, our head of machine learning, his background is in AI, and he specifically did a thesis in multi-source summarization, which is the ability to scan multiple articles and condense the information from those articles into one succinct summary, which is super, super interesting, because in the publishing world, we speak of pillar articles. We speak of how do you condense lots of information into one thing. And what this is doing, why this is so valuable, is because it's doing the legwork of what a human would do. And that's what this is all about, is how can we really benefit customers through machine learning, powered by machine learning. Right. And so the multi-source summarization enables that real originality of content.
So how much time would that save an organization then, if you were looking at an enterprise company with a very strong brand, a consumer-based product, for instance. You've got teams of people that are curating, bringing together this content. How much time do you think it could save an organization and ultimately cost, because you are automating a lot of manual processes that may be out there at the moment?
Absolutely. So let's say it depends. Typical content manager out there is employed £35,000 a year to do that. And the whole point of this is in the price of one subscription model, starting at £200 a month, we're saving businesses an absolute fortune. Rather than getting a human to spend all their time finding information, which is the biggest part of content creation, is where's my inspiration? That curation part, that aggregation and finding of content, that browsing is the most sort of time-consuming part. So if you compare it to the cost of a salary, one unit of Inflo.AI is £200 a month. You can see already that the return that companies are getting.
Yes. So on a broader view of AI and the proliferation across multiple industries, where do you see AI going ultimately? Do you think we'll have a Terminator walking down the street eventually?
God, yeah, that's it, isn't it? So we're all going to be taken over by robots. I mean, that's also always what you hear about when you go to different events. And I was at an AI and sport event recently. And what are its implications there? And the big thing really is you're only going to get as far as the data you can really feed your algorithms on. So, and who feeds that data is obviously humans. So in all our machine learning and all the extraction that we do and the categorization that we do, we've built a data set tool to actually feed that information and trained our algorithms on hundreds of thousands of articles. So the first step before you see the new Wolverine walking around or whatever it is firstly someone's got to do that laborious exercise of training up all the different types of data. So look at it with autonomous vehicles. It's the same thing there. It's training of the data is coming from Uber drivers circulating London every single day, every single minute. So it's about that data first. So we shouldn't get too ahead of ourselves. But the benefits are huge there. So really interesting.
So you mentioned creating a stronger platform for growth and scale with regards to the investment you're receiving, but also, are you looking to expand your sales and marketing efforts, get the product out there? Where else?
Yeah, so you're right, actually. I've got so focused there on the product, what's our sort of more route to market as well, and what's our plans for distribution. So Q3, as I said, the big focus is getting that Inflo.AI edit tool out. Beyond that, it is, for us, it's exciting. It's going to be our first non-tech hire in Q4 probably this year. Myself and Toby are non-tech founders. So we'll have an accompanying non-tech person in the office probably in Q4, and that'll be our first sales hire. So we've got a few people in mind already for that, but that will be the start of the business development team, helping to sell those two products, Inflo.AI Feed and Inflo.AI Edit. But also we're looking to really scale up through a syndication team as well, because one side of it is selling the products that we have. The other is speaking to content creators and saying, look, we want to use your content because we can distribute and help you monetize that information. So there's two separate parts of our business development team that we need to grow in the next 6 months, and certainly quickly in the next 12 to 18.
So where do you see your sweet spot then? Because it's very clear to me, content creation, aggregation of that content, driving consumer adoption or attention of that content created, B2C, large organizations, big brands would have a lot of value by using a tool such as this. Where else do you see there being a sweet spot? Because I understand it is very horizontal. Your market is very broad and capable of serving many different types of organizations and different verticals. But for you to focus on a particular area, where would that be?
That's a great question, because look, if you look at there's 4 million SMEs in the UK with a website, and over half of those intend to spend more on content marketing. If you made a plan based on that, you wouldn't really have a plan. You just have what exactly are you doing? So for us, I think it's a really good point, because the system is built to be generic, which is obviously the value. But in terms of strategy, we have to be focusing on selling to publishers initially, because that's where, coming back to your previous question, time saving, and these are the guys who employ content managers, and we want to just show what a compelling number of case studies we can put together by selling to publishers and saying, look, you don't need this many people browsing for information. That's a sort of a painful exercise for these guys. And by focusing on publishing initially, that's going to be our sort of focus. So already we're working with a number of publishers and talking to a number of large publishers. So we're working with the likes of the University paper, who are a student paper. They're live in 16 cities across the UK, I think. They previously had all their inventory tied up in print. They've moved with the times, thank God for them. And now that everything is digital, and we are their sort of content engine. But there's lots and lots of small publishers like the University paper, but not for students, for all different types of verticals. But we are focusing on servicing those types of companies. The interesting thing is that brands want to be publishers as well. So I speak of Extreme International before, and for example, but the difference between a brand and a publisher, it's not easy to sort of differentiate the two. Both of them have to publish lots of content and have to engage with a hopefully active audience. So, yeah.
Interesting. There's a certain Sir Richard Branson who started off publishing a paper at the university, sort of content that way. So maybe there'd be a good organisation to be in touch with in the future.
God, yeah. I think he's sort of tied up on his island at the moment. But the thing is, the interesting thing about Richard is that he obviously is a very good tennis player. Mm-hmm. So if I ever meet the man, very unlikely, I'd love to play him at tennis.
He does have a competition on Necker Island, doesn't he? So he's with Wimbledon going on at the moment as well. Are you getting any chance to go and see
Wimbledon? I'm tied up at the moment with the Syndicate Room raise, and I'm answering inquiries as much as possible, which I'd love to. Last year I went to Wimbledon last year with my younger brother. Sat in that queue. We got there at 6 a.m. and it took 5-6 hours to get in. But it is. I think it's worth it. No, it is worth it. I absolutely love tennis. It's a shame that Andy Murray isn't playing right now.
Yes.
Kyle Edmund, being the British #1, is always an interesting line. But he's doing well. He's got the ability to get somewhere. But will it be Roger Federer again? I think it's very likely.
He's looking on top of his game.
He's looking all right, yeah. I think he's 36 now, but more assertive than ever.
Yes.
Look, it easily can become a tennis columnist if I keep going. But, yeah.
Well, the whole point is to have a conversation, a moment in time of where you are today. And we've covered off Inflo.AI, the proposition you have for the marketplace, the current funding round that you are coming to an end with. People who are listening, invest in at your own risk, get your own advice, but it's certainly something to look into if you're interested. And Adam, I'm sure, will be happy to field any questions that you may have around that. So that's the here and now. Where do you see yourself in the next 12 months? Because the idea of this conversation with Bash is that of here and now. Where are you going to be, and then come back in 12 months' time and see what that journey looked like, and then again repeat for series 2 and 3 and so on. So we're going on a journey with you of learning, and it would be great to sort of for you to share that journey with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, just to give a snapshot of where we are now, where I think we could be. You're never going to be fully accurate with this, but we'll have a go. Right now, we are 2 revenue-generating services, a lot of metrics coming from our first service, Inflo.AI feed, and the edit tool is new. It's brand spanking new. The designs are being implemented as we speak and live in Q3. My plan for the next 12 months is, firstly, in the next 7 days, finish the Syndicate Room thing. But where I see this going in probably 12 months is, look, we need to get a lot of traction on both services. And we are targeting 30,000 a month by the end of this year. And we'll have the runway, until Q2. And I see us really gearing up for an institutional raise back end of Q2 next year, with various things. And advise listeners to really think about, obviously, runway is the most important. ways to extend the runway, things like R&D rebates have been an absolute pot of gold for us. And I think, that sort of runway can take us to, as I say, Q2. And then really what the plan is then is to raise a £2-3 million round. I want us to stay in the UK, certainly in the next year, even though the US is a sort of 10x market. Programmatic advertising is exactly 10x the size that it is here, 4 billion here, 40 billion there. But there's lots to get done in the UK. There's lots of brands and lots of publishers, 8,000 publishers in the UK. So we're going to be very busy tapping up as many of those as possible. But I do see the focus of next year is getting to much more substantial revenues in preparation for that. What happens then? It will be expanding all areas of the business. With machine learning, what I've learned, a big thing that we've all learned really, is we're a team of 10 now, but it's really important to have the right balance of machine learning engineers to software engineers. And in our case, we've got a team of Python engineers, and you really need you need double the size of your Python team to your machine learning team, just so they can implement all the software around the machine learning. And we've learned sort of how to build the right ratio between the two and the deployment structures around that and how we work. So I see us, in the next 12 months expanding at a much, definitely a logical rate in terms of the back end machine learning team. But right now we only have one front end person, front end engineer who's very, very good and worked in the content space for 15 years. We have a lot of plans, not only on the machine learning side, features such as personalization, working with OpenDNA on the analytics, trending, as I've mentioned, trending content. But on the front end, there's going to be a lot of features clients that want. I mean, we launched this product in Q3. There's already a list as long as my arm of what features on the front end that people want. Scheduling content, buckets, boards, all these kind of things. So we're going to be busy. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of category creation and knowing what is different from what has been before, and also making a business understand a problem that they may not be aware of and how you service that problem. So there is a functionality driven by your customers in what they believe, but there is a shortcoming in terms of what they believe is not actually completely correct in the eyes of your strategy, your goal, and creation of a new platform that services a new market. So I suppose there's a point. I just wanted to understand your thoughts on category creation. Is it something you've considered to date? And understand how Inflo.AI is different to what exists at the moment.
Yeah, great question. How are we unique? What is interesting about us? And the way to do that is explain, I think, the three key areas of the content space, which I'm always talking to different clients and investors about. So the three key areas, just to explain. So the first is your aggregation tools. A few companies to mention that I always look and see how they're doing, kind of thing. Keep an eye on is one is Curator and another is Publish This. They're aggregators of information. They help you find information, but the problem with those companies, in my view, their products, is that they do miss key content. They focus around text and they focus mainly around RSS feeds, which is pretty limited. And if you're a brand, if you're Premier Inn and you want to publish content to your Coventry site because there's an artist playing there, you don't want to miss information. Same for Extreme International. There's some really cool action sport videos out there, and you're only pulling in text. What use is that tool that does that? And that's the same problem for different areas. So that's the first area, aggregation tools. The second area in the content space is editor tools and sort of social media tools. So you've got companies and CM content management systems such as WordPress. You've got Hootsuite that you can schedule tweets on, etc. These are editors. They don't help you find content. They just help you make content, or at least create content within those editors. Right. And then finally, you've got content recommendation tools or content monetization tools, and the big ones are Taboola and Outbrain. And I'm sure you've seen this. For example, they've been around some time now. Taboola and Outbrain. I think they're making tremendous revenues per year. But what they do is they sit on big, high traffic websites. For example, I'm sure you've all been on a Sky Sports article, gone to the bottom of that article and seen a widget, and that widget, that section of the website, I should say, is powered by Outbrain. And what it is, it's a load of JavaScript, and what it is gossip content. It's got to be Love Island this time of the year, I guess.
Oh my goodness!
What's Magic Meg up to, or something like that. And it's that kind of content, that kind of stuff. Harry's razors. There you go. There's another one. Yeah, I could do with a shave right now. So
likewise.
Likewise. So look, you're on Sky Sports article talking about how England are going to win the World Cup. You're interested in football, clearly. Why, when you go to the bottom of the article, is that irrelevant information, gossip content about, as we say, Mystic Meg, whatever it is, there? It's nothing to do with what you're looking at. And that's another. So despite them calling themselves content recommendation tools, they're really just sort of gossip engines. And what it is clickbait, forcing you in to click on it, and they get a fraction of the revenue from that click, giving publishers a revenue stream. So the three key areas, as I say, just to sum up, is aggregation, editors, and recommendation tools. We're different. We're very different. We firstly don't miss key information. That's the machine learning part. And we are this one-stop shop. We're an end-to-end tool. We want to be the product that you can give to any business. Although we're focusing on publishers initially, that you can say, right, use this tool to find content relevant to you. We recommend it. Edit it to make it more on brand, and publish a way to drive traffic to your sites, which in turn boosts your presence, your loyalty with customers, and ultimately trust and revenue. So that's the differences, and that's probably that's a good roundup of the market.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a number of influencers out there that talk about every company being a digital media company first. Think about the internet, the evolution of the internet, and yes, the content's out there for everyone listening. By all means, have a look. But yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
So we're rounding up now. There's a few questions I'd like to ask you. This will ask every founder of startup and scale-up companies. So just a quick fire round, and just get an understanding of first of all what it is and what your thoughts are around it. So what's the current book you're reading at the moment?
I'm mad about sport. I'm reading various autobiographies, boxers. I'm reading one, Andre Agassi's Open book right now. So some interesting lessons have come from that. So one line that I particularly like in that book is control what you can control. So that's resonating with me right now. Certainly as we're crowdfunding and lots is going on, and there's only so many inquiries you can answer in a day and that sort of thing. So always reading about sport. I think that we always hear about the relationship between sport and business, and the two, and I find that always fascinating. So,
yeah, and I love sport as well, and I'm a true believer of continual improvement and how that can translate from sport into business, and the competitive nature of winning, and just improving yourself to better oneself and then win and come out on top. So
I'm also reading another one actually at the moment. Founder of Innocent Smoothies, Innocent Drinks. He does some interviews with various entrepreneurs, founders, interesting people, and I'm reading that book. Lots of good insight in that as well. So reading two at the moment. Yeah,
great. So I was actually going to ask you about what's the particular entrepreneur or business owner that you admire and follow at the moment?
This in terms of sheer excitement, it's hard not to say Mr. Musk. The chaos that that's going on at the moment. I'm very interested in cars. Autonomous vehicles is something that I'm watching and following and keeping up to date with. So all his work with Tesla. I probably have to say Elon Musk.
That's interesting because with the car thing, there is a movement in the industry around pushing content into the autonomous cars, and how you consume that information that is pushed to you, because it's autonomous. Your attention is somewhere else as a passenger in that vehicle. So thinking ahead, there may be some synergies there in the future. So sport, you're keen on sport. You mentioned a couple of sports. What's your favorite sport, and how often do you get to partake?
Well, that's a very easy question, actually. Right now, it's tennis. So I play 3-4 times a week. Absolutely love the sport. Obviously, Wimbledon at the moment, it's hard to get away from it. Playing in all different tournaments. So I play for Dulwich actually. So big fan of tennis. Great sport. Also love Formula One. So it's another one of mine. A bit more of a geeky sport, but
again, the car thing, the technology.
Yeah, exactly. It's come back to that. So those two really are my focus. I like rugby as well, but I'd say tennis and Formula One would be my answer.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you could get a course at this point in time with Wimbledon going on and everybody picking up a racket.
Exactly. It's tough, but you've got to get there early. I think that'd be my advice on that one.
Like with everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good. And then the final question is what I'd repeat every year. So be prepared for this.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's see.
So what would you do differently now based on what you know?
It's a really good question. I think the biggest thing that comes out to me right now is if the task is gets to institutional funding for an early stage founder, do you have to have so much machine learning in the product from day one? The reason I say this is we have built the product from day one to have machine learning, which is for us really interesting because it allows us to go from the revenues, the revenue MRRs we are now, to higher revenues in the future much quicker. So however, the reverse of that would be, can you do things more in a more sort of simplistic way initially, prove your 20, 30K MRR quicker in a shorter space of time, and then say, right, we're going to get machine learning in. That could apply for a number of businesses. That sort of methodology, both have merit, because if you go down the first one and get machine learning in, you are going to scale quicker. Second, you're going to show traction quicker. So I think that's something that always plays in my mind, which is something that every founder should consider as, what's your first traction point, and how you're going to get there. And for us, for me, it's definitely that.
So you're saying that you would have potentially considered building the AI capability, the machine learning at a later stage, and built more of the revenue engine and product first, the initial product.
Yeah, I don't. There's something I battle with. I think we've proven our revenues already to a point where it's not massively but affecting us. But I'd say you're a new founder, you're running an ML business. Ultimately, you've got to show revenues in a decent space of time. So I would say just be mindful of clever ways to put machine learning in if you are an ML business. Of course, I'm going to focus on ML businesses. And to any ML enthusiasts out there listening, I think that's a really interesting one. But I think I maintain that what we've done is the right way of doing it, because I'm confident from sort of now we can really start to scale. So that's something to think about, definitely.
Great. Well, everybody, I think that's time on our conversation today with Adam Benzecrit of Inflo.AI, the co-founder. And what a pleasure it's been having yourself on the conversations with Bash. The first one, 101.
Fantastic.
And I appreciate your time, and I look forward to following your journey over the course of the next few years to stardom, hopefully.
Thank you, Ben, and a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. And thank you to anyone who's listened.
Cheers.
So what do you think? We'll have another interesting story to dive into next week. Looking forward to it already. Some questions to you in the meantime. What is your story? What is your reality right now? And what are you working towards? Let me know. So you can connect with me on Twitter. Just type in Bash in the search and you'll find me. So Bash, B-A-S-H. Easy. On Instagram, it's Bash Reality. So that's Bash_reality. And on LinkedIn, Benjamin Ashmore. Make sure you subscribe, and until next week, cheers.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.